Hey guys, what's going on? So today I'm going to be replacing the ABS wire I showed you in the last video. My 2004 F350, my left front ABS wire, the bolt rotted off, so the wire is touching the rotor, wore down, broke. So I just zip tied it up out of the way, and today I'm going to show you how to drill and tap the knuckle and put the new wiring. First, jack it up, put it on the jack stand, and alright guys, first thing we're going to do, pop off this cover here. It can be a pain. Definitely the right tool for the job. Go ahead and take the lug nuts off. Alright guys. So right here, this little indentation, that's where the nut's supposed to be to hold the wire, but as you can tell in my case, there's no nut, no wire. It would usually travel down this little groove right there and behind the rotor. Next step, we're going to go ahead and just take off the brakes. I've made a video on how to do front and rear pads on a Dodge Dart. Pretty much same concept, just the two caliper bolts have to come off in this case. So we're not changing the brakes, we're just moving them out of the way. Alright guys, once you take off those two bolts, caliper will come right off. Go ahead, move your rotor as well. And there is what remains of my ABS sensor, with obviously no wire left whatsoever. So at one point this connected to this. Let's make that happen again. Next thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and take this screw out. It's a $5mm Allen.
Billy's outside, by the way. Captain Billy.
And then the sensor pops right out. Alright, so the next step is we're going to remove the wire. So my wire's broken here, but usually you'd pop it out of this clip, pop it out of this clip. There's a little like Christmas tree connector here. And then if you come up here, you can see where the wire runs right here. Pull it out from under those connectors there. And then this connector looks like it was broken in the past and someone just taped it up. I'm just going to go ahead and undo this the tape. Hopefully the harness side of the connector isn't damaged. And you just have this little push tab, push that in and pull. Actually not sure why that was taped. Oh, it doesn't look like it's seated all the way. But then you just finish removing the wire. Next thing we're gonna do is get the new connector. And we're gonna run the wire as close as possible to the way it was run before. So just feed it back underneath, and all this is doing is dropping it down here. And that'll start to give you your point of reference for where everything clips in. This should go in fairly easy. If it's not, make sure it's not hitting. In this case, I'm just going to clean up the knuckle there, just to make sure it slides in the way it should. I'm also going to put a little silicone on the O-ring on here to help it slide in a little easier. Okay, so now that you got that in there, go ahead and just thread your bolt in. And snug it up till the sensor is fully seated, the bolt stops turning with ease. Doesn't have to be too tight, this bolt just holds it in there. Really don't want to strip this out. I usually just use one finger till the Allen wrench stops moving. Then we're going to have to drill and tap that hole. So just continue routing the cable into the rest of the spots. Just clip the cable into these retainers. Make sure you route it the right way around this brake hose, or else you'll have to pull it off anyway and redo it. Next, I'm going to go ahead, grab my punch. I have one of the spring-loaded center punches. Try to get as centered in that hole as possible. And push down until it clicks. That'll make an indentation for your drill bit. So for this one, so much material broke off in there that I'm not really going to be able to extract anything. So I'm just going to drill out what's left and then go ahead and tap that hole. Okay, so before you start drilling, just use a drop of lubricant. Any oil will really be better than nothing. Use a smaller drill bit than what you're going to finish with. Make sure this wire doesn't touch the drill bit when it's spinning either. Guys a better angle. Pretty frequently add a little extra lubricant. This will help keep the drill bit sharp. All right. go to your final size for drill bit. Then you can start the tapping process. In this case, I'm going to be using a M6 by 1.0 thread tap. Go ahead and insert your tap into the T-tool. You can also use a tap socket if you have them. I have them, but I try not to use them unless I need them, because you can accidentally put a little too much torque on the tap and snap it off in there, and that just creates a bad day. So when you go to tap the hole, I always just use a little extra lubricant in there. Doesn't hurt the tap and helps keep it sharp and prevents it from jamming up in there. Go in nice and straight. And just move slow. Can be tricky to start. Just go slow, keep it as straight as possible, and slowly turn clockwise, and it should start to cut in. Put positive pressure down on it. As you start to feel it bite and turn, back it off a little bit. Turn it a little more, back off. That'll help keep the threads clean and get all the metal shavings out of there. So as you saw, tap actually snapped in there. Luckily, I can just use this spring-loaded center punch. And it's coming out pretty good. Alright guys, so I finished extracting out that piece of broken tap. Next, I'm just going to feed my bolt through the hold down over here. It's going to be kind of hard to see. Just going to go ahead and get it lined up and gently start it in. Those are fresh threads, so it might be a little extra snug, but make sure this wire is sitting down in this groove here. You want that lined up. You don't want it sitting up on this lip. You want to make sure it's sitting nicely. Go ahead and snug up the bolt. Make sure it's good. And you just have to finish securing the wire. Go ahead and plug in your the new wire. I'm gonna go ahead and re-secure this Christmas tree clip back up into where it was. I'll get back to you. So to be honest with you, I'm not sure where that actually clips in because mine wasn't originally. So I just zip tied it to the wiring that was pre-existing up there for another harness. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and start to reassemble the brakes. Make sure to clean off as much of the metal shavings as possible. The sensor does have a magnet, so it will hold any excess. Slide your rotor on. Before you go any further, just make sure that the wire isn't rubbing right here, because if it is, you're going to end up doing this again. So push the rotor all the way on and spin it, and make sure there's no contact anywhere. I'm going to finish putting this back together. And 3, 2, 1, time lapse.